Welcome all you moshers to a very special Tied Down TV or Halloween special. And what better genre to look at than the goth genre? But first, I've just gonna talk about the elephant in the room. What the fuck is that? What is that?
This is me Michael Myers mask.
It looks like Touche Turtle.
Well, you know.
You could have made some effort.
Oh, I fucking hell.
Right, so, Goth. Where are we going with Goth?
Well, it crosses over, doesn't it, with a lot of other stuff. I think Goth, obviously, post-punk being the key one.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to as a genre, Goth, I'm not sure I didn't think I was like that into that many bands from that genre, but actually when I looked at what some of the bands that maybe are considered goth but also kind of lean into the post-punk camp, I thought, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, first off, let's admit that it's probably not our specialist genre.
Definitely not for me.
We decided to do a Halloween special and pick goth as kind of like a fun kind of thing, but then we looked at it and thought, actually, we are into quite a lot of goth music.
Yeah, there's more than I thought.
Yeah, and I thought, you know what? And it's a genre I'm learning about all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know what I mean? And it is one of them that I've had friends in the past who were heavily into it, which has exposed me to it quite a bit over the years.
Yeah.
And, it's one of them genres that I can't understand why it's probably not more universally liked by people of all fans of different music, because it does, even dance heads. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like some dance music, some goth music is just like literally floor-filling dance music, a lot of it.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So it does go from like post-punk and all that type of stuff. It does kind of expand, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So, also, as usual, we've got our own policy. I have to say this, that we don't pick an album twice. And for that reason, there will be no Unknown Pleasures here. And there will be no Closer, which featured in previous videos. So, unfortunately, no Joy Division here, though obviously they have to be spoken about as a big influence on the genre. So, get us underway.
Okay, well, I'm going to go first then. So I'm going to start with a big hitter from this scene. I've gone for Pornography by The Cure. The fourth album, and it's a stone cold classic. I mean, when it comes to goth music, it's got to be talked about, I think. They've got quite a few very good albums. This kind of comes first in what Robert Smith called like a trilogy of records. There's this one, another very big Cure album, and the one called Bloodflowers. They were on the verge of splitting up, I believe, when Robert Smith started writing this, and he was going through depression. There was a lot of drug use. He just said the band was in a lot of turmoil. And he said it was either kind of like write these songs and get them out, or the worst might have happened. So he was clearly going through a lot at the time, as I say. And he said this possibly in his head at the time was going to be the last Cure album. As like a fuck you, and we're done.
Yeah.
But it's a masterpiece, I think. It's dark. It's quite encompassing and close sometimes, but there's still, hints of some of the melody in there. It's just stunning music, though. Hanging Garden, 100 Years. It's just fucking every tune on it actually is great. But, they're one of the best, I'd say, when it comes to goth music and goth rock or anything that's kind of associated with that scene. I think these obviously always come up, don't they? And rightly fucking so. And it's this album and one or two of the others that are always talked about in that genre. But this is the one for me. And I think probably my second most listened to Cure album. But it's still ultimately one of my favourites, and it's mind-blowingly good. Actually, like I say, I can't fucking talk about this one enough. Just go and check it out. The Cure, Pornography.
I've also picked the Cure one. I picked Disintegration by the Cure. Now, this to me is very, very rarely you get what you would consider the perfect album.
Yeah.
This to me is as close as you're going to get to the perfect album. I absolutely love this album. The thing that's special about The Cure is they're a band who can play music, very gothic sounding music like this, and on the other hand they can play really radio friendly pop numbers and it still be as good. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone knows Close to Me, everyone knows all those songs. Boys Don't Cry and all of that. And everyone knows they're great songs, but this stuff is better. But that stuff's still amazing. You know what I mean? So it's surely the sign of a great band if you can play real good, real pop music that is equally, is really good as well as this stuff. But this is to me is their peak. I absolutely love this. But funnily enough, what got me into this album was, believe it or not, the film The Football Factory. So many years ago, you borrowed me The Football Factory before it was even out on the cinema. That's how long ago it was. And you had the Chelsea Headhunters version, which had a alternative soundtrack.
That's right.
And when they're marching down to go and face off against Millwall, the firm, there was a tune playing, and I wanted to know for ages what it was, and it took me a few years to find out that it was actually Fascination Street. The intro of Fascination Street plays in that scene. It's quite a long intro, 2 minutes long, and it's just a brilliant piece of music. Found out it was that by The Cure. Got hold of the album, and every song there isn't a moment of filler. Fascination Street and the title track Disintegration are my two favourites, but my God, it is a perfect album from beginning to end. There isn't a weak moment on it. A lot of time when I put this on, I fall asleep, and I don't fall asleep because I'm bored. I fall asleep because of how fucking beautiful it is, and I just lie there and get so relaxed and just so into it. It really is one of the best British albums ever, just like they're one of the best British bands ever. You put them up there with the Smiths, and you put them up there with all those top dogs, or the Sex Pistols, whatever, the Beatles, all them, all the big heads. The Cure have got to be up there, haven't they?
That is in my top 10 albums ever made about any artist ever.
Yeah.
It's 100% a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely. One of my favourite albums of all time. One of my most listened to albums of all time. Disintegration by The Cure.
Excellent. So pick number 2 for me, I've gone for Mask by Bauhaus. So this is Bauhaus' second album. And they kind of expanded their sound a little bit on this one. They used a little bit of saxophone and some acoustic guitars. The keyboards came into play a little bit more. It's fucking great though, it's like, I'd say more than the debut, the sound of the songs is harder, but yet more accessible. That's my favourite album of theirs. I've got to say, I'm not a big fan of them. Of their band, I've just never been able to get into. I know this and the first one. Other than that, I haven't listened to loads, a few singles here and there, obviously. But, like I say, they got into the charts. I think it was, number 29, Kick in the Eye, the single off it got to, and like I say, it just kind of exposed the band a lot more, but, it's quite experimental at times. It's dark. It's very fucking dark. Experimental, but I still got that gothic overtones here, and it's just outstanding. The artwork's brilliant as well.
Yeah, the artwork is good.
Class, isn't it? Yeah. But it's just that they're fucking, again, a great album, great band, and it was one of the first ones that came to my head, and then I thought, oh yeah, I suppose they would definitely fall into that camp, but yeah, Mask, Bauhaus, check it out. My next pick from 1982. I've gone Only Theatre of Pain by Christian Death, for the simple reason that it's probably got my favourite song of the entire Goth genre on, In Romeo's Distress, which I probably listen to it a good few times a week, and I've done for a while. It's just a brilliant song, despite having some kind of naughty lyrics in there. But it's just a brilliant song. It makes use of fucking really good bass and even church bells and stuff. But it's such a brilliant album. This is a band now, I don't even think there's a single member left in the band from this album. They've had massive changes over the years. But this was probably the first band I heard who had that kind of dark singing style that a lot of bands have. Some people say it's quite generic. That kind of that kind of thing. But yeah, it's again, it's dark, it's haunting, but it's got a lot of beautiful moments in as well. Like I say, if you're not familiar, and a lot of people watching this video probably are, Romeo's Distress is, as I say, where you want to start from. It's an absolutely brilliant song, and I'd say it definitely is my favourite of the whole genre. Oh, okay, nice. Right, number 3. So this one, I've gone for Violator by Depeche Mode. So, this is their 7th record. This is the fucking big hitter though. The singles on this, outstanding. Has it got the tracks on? Yeah. So you got Enjoy the Silence, Personal Jesus, World in My Eyes, Sweetest Perfection. Every tune on this, it's a fucking amazing. Like I say, this was their 7th record, so they were quite known. They were obviously synth kind of sound going on, and it still has that, obviously, but it's a lot darker, more guitars. And when they were writing it, they kind of decided, like they said, they'd had 5 years, and they perfected this sort of style. They wanted to try and branch out a little bit. I think it sold fucking bucket loads, big, like I say, because of the big singles on it as well. It's great all around. So of course you can. So I came across this album originally when I was, early teens. I used to go to the Bromborough Civic Centre. Beddington Civic Centre, sorry, the library with my dad. My dad used to take out books a lot. I used to take out books, but you could hire out CDs. And I used to take them home and tape them, which you're not supposed to do, but obviously. And I discovered loads of mad stuff like that, and I just picked this up because I kind of liked the cover. It was a CD there, I took it home, and from there, so I remember I used to take this, and I used to take tapes with me Walkman into school, and I used to play this album a lot. And then I stopped listening to it for a good while, and I kind of went back to it about maybe 15 years ago. But it's outstanding. It's fucking just outstanding. Like I say, can't speak high enough. They're a great band anyway, with great singles, but man, this is packed full of fucking amazing songs. Yeah, Violator, Depeche Mode.
I've got to say, just to touch on Depeche Mode, like I said about The Cure and that, one of the best British bands of all time, I think.
I can't disagree, yeah.
I think for me, they're a bit more of a greatest hits band for the simple
big
reason.
Singles,
They've got, well, the reason I wasn't familiar with the track list on that, because I've always been a greatest hits fan of theirs, the reason I wanted to have a look at the back of that is to see if any of my favourite tunes were on there, and they actually weren't. So, like my favourite tune by them is "See You." That wasn't on there. "Shake the Disease" wasn't on there. They're tunes I really love by them. So they're one of them bands that they just got hit amazing song after amazing song after amazing song. And I guess that album there, I know it's probably their most liked album, I suppose. But for me, it's just, can you pick one? Because there's so many good songs they've done.
That out of the few that I've listened to, there's the one that I always go back to it.
But yeah, brilliant, good choice, brilliant band, unbelievable band. My next choice is from 1984, and it is probably the most avant-garde choice, I'd say, on my list, and I've gone for the self-titled by Dead Can Dance. Like I say, a little bit more avant-garde. They make use of like Indian drumming, Indian percussion, French vocals.
I must admit, I was surprised that you liked that band that much. Actually,
you know what? I discovered this album by accident, and the first time I heard it, I did not like it. You know what I mean? But the more I listened to it, the more it was a grower. It was a grower. Sometimes albums we spoke about, the penny never drops. But it didn't, it took a few listens, and then I started really, really liking it. And as time went on, I was like, you know what, I fucking love this album. And they make use of like Indian percussion, chanting. Definitely the weirdest, I'd say, of all the picks I've picked. And this genre, anyone watching this, as I said before, this isn't mine and Geoff's specialist genre. And there's probably people out there going, why haven't you picked fucking, why haven't you picked fucking red lorry, yellow lorry, why haven't you picked fucking this, you know what I mean? But, it is what it is. And I do really like this album, and I have got into a lot of goth over the last couple of years.
I like it.
Do you know what I mean? It is probably the weirdest one I've picked.
Yeah.
I do usually like the more straight up, easier listening stuff, but this definitely is the red herring in my group of records.
That's an excellent choice.
Yeah.
Okay, but pick number 4 for me. I've gone for Nighttime by Killing Joke. Now, Killing Joke are definitely one of those bands that straddle into the post-punk camp. And this album is very quintessentially 80s sounding, I think, and it has got a lot of that guitar tone that a lot of the kind of goth rock bands had. It's just very accessible, but it's got big tunes on it again, like Love Like Blood's on here. 80s, which a lot of people will probably be aware is the song that Nirvana are accused of ripping off with Come As You Are, and you hear 80s. It's hard to argue that they didn't at least take a big chunk of inspiration from that. These are a fucking great band. This is definitely less industrial than sounding than their first few records. I think this is their 5th. It came out in 85. Now, I don't know 100% if I've got the timeline right, because I remember reading once that the singer Jazz Coleman, obviously, if you know the band, they sing a lot about like nuclear war and fear of that kind of impending doom coming, and he was convinced the world was coming to an end, so he moved to Iceland. After a while, The World Didn't End. And I think this is the album that they kind of got back together and put out. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I'm not 100% up, obviously, on that Killing Joke lore. But, yeah, just like I say, it's very accessible. But so many good tunes on here. The Europe's on here, that's great. Tabazan, every song on here, actually, I think there's only 8 or 9. Absolute class band anyway. But this is a good starting point for Killing Joke, I think, if you want to get into them, because it's still got a little bit of a noisy sound, but not really. It's very much more melodic and accessible. So yeah, Nighttime, Killing Joke.
My next pick, 1986. I'm not going to speak that much about it, because believe it or not, some people have said that I go on about this band a bit too much now. But yeah, I've gone third album by the Chameleons, Strange Times. I could have picked any of the 380s albums because, as I always say, this band are near perfect, with near the perfect discography, and I could have picked any 3. I believe I picked Script of the Bridge, though, for one of our previous videos.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so I've gone for this, and the reason I've gone for this over the second album is 2 reasons. One, it contains Swamp Thing, which is the song that made me think, wow, these are amazing.
Yeah.
It's also got the song Time on it, which is an amazing song, and it's also got amazing artwork. But yeah, the Chameleons, any 3 of the 80s albums, unbelievable. Slept on, as I always say. You've heard me talk about them before. Not going to say anything else. The Chameleons.
Great band. Okay, final pick for me. I've gone for Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Tender Prey. So Nick Cave, obviously very famous. I'm a huge fan. Come around the birthday party, formed the Bad Seeds. Again, early Bad Seeds definitely straddles that post-punk kind of thing, even avant-garde noise. This has got like a gothic rock, gothic country, gothic blues kind of vibe. Very dark lyrically, which, if you know this album at all, you know, it opens with one of their most famous tunes called The Mercy Seat, which is like a 7-minute run of singing from the position of someone on death row, using a lot of Christian and Bible imagery. But this is just packed full of fucking great songs again. Diana's on here, Up Jump the Devil, Mercy. It's just brilliant. It's fucking one of them artists that for me he's had about 3 or 4 purple patches in his career. This kind of capped off a point where the sound shifted then and it kind of moved into a little bit more, I don't know what you say, like maybe dark cabaret almost. But this has still had that like gritty edge, but there's a couple of ballads knocking about. But anyway, I could wax lyrical about Nick Cave for a long time because he is one of my all-time favourite artists. But again, if you want to get into like earlier Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, I think this is your good starting point and work your way back. But definitely check this album out, Tender Prey, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
My last pick, I've gone for Floodland by Sisters of Mercy.
Nice.
Now, I was always going to pick a Sisters of Mercy album. The reason I've settled on this instead of, say, the first one, a couple of reasons. One, because the first song, Dominion, I prefer to the first song on the first album, which is Black Planet, right? And I just love the way it effortlessly goes into Mother Russia. I just think it's brilliant. It's got one of them recognisable intros that when you hear and all that. And they played most of this when I saw them live. And when I saw them live, it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. It was incredible when you consider the age, the dancing and stuff that was going on, the light show. It was unbelievably good. And they played most of this, and it just, they were a band I really, occasionally you see a band and you get into them so much more after seeing them live. Sisters of Mercy were one of them for me. They were so good live. A gig ruined by the fact that some fucking blurt who was stood in front of me was doing this. The whole time, right? The whole fucking time. I know you can see, but Geoffs dance like that. No one was acting like this fucking dickhead in there, apart from him, and he just happened to be stood in front of me, right? And he was doing it for fucking ages until he got a fucking boot up the arse, alright? And then he stopped. But other than that, it was fucking amazing. And before you say, it wasn't actually even me that kicked him up the arse, someone else did, right? That's how annoying he was being, right? But that gig was absolutely fantastic. One of the best live shows I've ever seen, Sisters of Mercy. Amazing light show, dancing, whole thing, music, everything. Just like the record. Much better than I was expecting. And Floodlands, I think, is a really good place to start with them. Very good album. So, honourable mention.
Fears of Nephilim, Elezium.
brilliant choice. Feels Nephilim, very good band. I'm going to cheat a little bit because I think it's technically a compilation, but I'm going to go the Botanic Verses by the March Violets because you can't. The song Snake Dance is just absolutely amazing, and I think it needs to be mentioned by me on this video.
There you go. Well, that's our list. Tell us what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, ring that bell if you want some notifications, and jump on the socials, Instagram, Facebook, you know the score. Give us likes, follows, comments, all the rest of it. See you next time.
Have a good Halloween, moshes.
Yep.
That's what I say. That's